All right, we are back. Hey, y'all. We are back. I'm so excited. Oh my God. I can't believe it. So let's get started. Let's just jump right in. It's been so long, I know. And I feel like I say that every time I get to doing this podcast. I feel like I'm always apologizing for being missing so long, y'all. But listen, it be like that sometimes. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Black and Wild. I am your host, Latanya Carla. I know I am back, y'all. And first of all, before I jump into this episode, I want to thank all of you who have left comments on my previous episodes, as well as DM'd me and reached out to me and asked me questions about my previous episodes about, like, moving into the tech industry, as well as, my money episode, the big money episode that I still feel pretty weird about. But I am going to give you guys an update. I do have some big updates in that area in terms of like where things are now. And I'm super excited about that episode. And I hope that will be coming up soon. I don't know exactly when I'm putting it out because y'all, here's what we're going to try to do in 2024 since we already here, right? And it is April and I'm just putting out a new episode. Hopefully this comes out before my birthday because I am an April girl. But here's what we're going to do in 2024. We are going to be more consistent with this. And that is my hope. That is my birthday wish, right? As this is officially my new year. So y'all hold me accountable, okay? If y'all don't see me, please don't feel free to hit me up on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you see me to let me know I need to get back to this podcast, okay? But I've been looking at all you guys' comments. I've been, writing down all your questions, keeping track of all your questions so that I can put that in that new episode. And I'm just excited to be back, chit chatting with you guys. We've been gone. I've been gone, and I'm excited. So my birthday's coming up, and it's the big one, girls. It's the big one. It's the big 4-0. I know some people are surprised to hear that because every time I tell somebody I'm turning 40, they seem to be shocked by that. But and I ain't mad, but it is what it is. I ain't gonna lie about my age, y'all. I am turning 40 this year, and I'm actually happy about it. And I actually have a really cool date for my birthday because it's 4/24/24, and I just like the way that lined up. And 4 is my favorite number, so I've been missing y'all for so long that I just feel chatty, and I just want to tell y'all everything. But we're gonna get to the topic of today. The topic of today, what I want to talk about is decentering men. I want to get into relationships. I know it's been a long time since I talked about relationships, but can we agree that like 2024 in the area of relationships have been like really ghetto so far? I mean, that first quarter was ghetto. Okay, Women's Month. What was that? What was that? I mean, all the craziness that has come out. Black History Month. What was that? You know what I'm saying? We done had Risa Tisa, Love is Blind done played in our face. You know what I'm saying? I want to talk about my own I'm going to talk about my own dating experiences in the last year as I've just been dating in the last year, which hasn't been horrible, but it's been something. So I want to get into it. I know I typically talk about relationships in the term of like community and community building, and it's been a really long time since I've talked about, romantic relationship. And I'm going to talk about that in some ways today, but the whole concept of decentering men is not necessarily about relationships. It's about self-growth. And I have to say, I know that this decentering men conversation has been going on for a little while, but I'm actually pretty new to this. Like I've really probably been hearing about it maybe over the last 6 months. And I can say that I've probably already been doing this without even realizing that there was a name for it. But as you can see, if you've seen some of my previous episodes, it's been working for me. You know what I mean? But we're going to get into it. Okay. So today I want to talk about the increase in content around decentering men and this new movement, if you will. Or is it would you call it a movement or no? Like, because we've had a few movements come through that didn't quite pan out. They kind of came and went, or were just taken over and misrepresented after a while. Like the point of that movement, the movement usually gets lost. Like we have the femininity movement, right? And now we have this movement. And I feel like sometimes people start using it to get clicks and it turns into something else, right? And now we have this whole new wave of 4B, which has been the talk all over the internet for the past couple of weeks. And I guess we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But there are so many definitions to what it means to really decenter men, and there's been some pushback against it from other women who feel, as well as men, but the women who have pushed back up against it, they kind of stand out to me more because the way I see it, I don't see why women would necessarily be against it. But let's get into what people really think this is. Let's touch on some definitions, okay? So this is from a Reddit thread. It says, what does decentering men look like in your life? And so one person says, I'm off the apps. I don't engage with men in public. I move about my life with the thought that I probably won't find anyone. I save my energy for myself. Another person said, I don't dress for the male gaze. I don't care if things are flattering or if it makes me look skinnier. I dress to impress myself. And that is such a freeing way to begin my day. Another person said, I buy myself flowers every week. This has led to me realizing that I will always buy myself better flowers than any man. I know myself best. I decorate my apartment the way I want, not in a neutral way that suits male partners. It turns out that for me, that means ultra feminine, luxe, French, Baroque furniture, oil paintings, plants, old books, etc. I pay for everything when I'm out with a man the first time. I don't ask, I just do it. I don't cook for men. I tend to listen to solo female singers unintentionally. I like what they sing about and can relate to it. I choose to like and admire Taylor Swift, an incredible businesswoman. If a man does something for me because I can't, I master that skill so that I can not only do it, but do it better. Okay. No longer being a pick-me and learning to support other women. I stopped waiting for a guy to treat me like a queen and just treated myself as such. So clearly there are many different ways that people see this and what that really means. And I think the point for me is that it can mean different things. And I think it is a really personal thing, right? One of the biggest arguments about decentering men is the argue of loneliness, right? And while there's a difference between being alone and being lonely, it is a concern for some people, right? Some people do want companionship and to be around opposite sex. So it is a challenge to just decide to forego the opposite sex completely. And we've all seen the data. I don't think I need to go through the data again about single women being happier, a lot more men being lonely today. But we can't deny that loneliness could be a concern for people. And we've seen that even with the pandemic, people really were struggling with loneliness. And that was just because they were forced to be in a situation where they had to be alone and be by themselves. And to be honest, a lot of people just don't know how to be by themselves. They haven't been taught how to be by themselves. So as you think of, if you're thinking about embarking on this journey, and really this episode is probably more for the single girls, not necessarily for those of you who are in relationships or in marriages, although if you are in relationship or married, I guess it still would apply, but it may look different for you. Could apply, not would apply, but it could apply. It would look different for you. The point I'm making is that it'll probably look different for everybody. Some people choose not to date as they are decentering men, and some choose to date despite decentering men. Let's get a real definition on this. Not a real definition, because I don't know if there's like a real definition, but we're going to go to Google and see what Google says I'm talking about. Okay. So the concept of decentering men. What is the concept of decentering men? It says decentering men refers to prioritizing oneself and personal goals over relationships with men. Women should focus on personal growth to invest in personal achievement and not refrain from it while waiting for a partner. One of the questions is, how does decentering men impact romantic relationships? There's a fear of being alone or looked down upon. when decentering from men. And romantic relationships are still highly valued despite the stigma. Okay, so let's get into some definitions from TikTok. Okay, well, people talking about it on TikTok. So one in particular that I liked that she shared was from Life Coach.
There's something about women decentering men in their lives that just keeps men depressed.
For generations, women have been taught that their relationship status was extremely important. It was like the cherry on top of your Sunday. It wasn't even the cherry on top. It was the Sunday. It was the complete Sunday. It doesn't matter how much education you have, how much money you have, if you have your own place, your own car, a great career, so you're making six figures, that you can do all these things for yourself, you're a rich auntie. No one measures success truly unless you have a man by your side. But more and more women, these generation of women, they're saying, you know what? I think I'm going to define success on my own terms, and I'm going to define it as me being happy. And men hate that because they want it to be the key. They wanted to have the control to be able to say, you need me to make your life complete. And women are saying, I feel complete by myself. A man can compliment me, but I'm already complete all within myself. And they hate that.
You cannot intellectualize yourself out of the human desire to be loved. And that's why I think this entire decenter men, get hobbies instead of dating, it's all BS. And it's coming from people who are too embarrassed to admit how lonely they are out of some shame they feel for perpetual loneliness. I will explain. All over my For You page, and especially my Twitter, over the past 2 weeks, people have been discussing this topic, which granted is a reoccurring topic, that you need to decenter men. That phrase should exclusively apply to not teaching girls that the best thing they can do in life is become a wife and mother, in terms of don't center your life around being an accessory to a man's dream. Right? You should have your own personhood. What it does not refer to, and what I think it's very detrimental to tell single people that it refers to, is this idea that you shouldn't prioritize romantic love, right? Human civilizations across time, almost every civilization has prioritized familial love, platonic love, the love between your friends, and romantic love. It's the stuff that makes up our fairy tales. It inspires our hopes and dreams. We are wired to want these things. Humans are social creatures. We're meant to live in community with one another. We're programmed to love and to be loved. And pretending you can just watch these TikToks or read a couple of books, get out of this human desire, is nuts. And it doesn't even apply when you look at the ways we treat the enduring grief that comes with not having the two other types of love besides romantic, right? Because if I say I don't have a family, my parents are dead, I don't have siblings, or I don't have a good family, I don't have contact with them, people recognize that that is enduring grief that I will experience for the rest of my life. We acknowledge it on Mother's Day, Father's Day, the holiday season. We hold space to listen to the stories of those who are hurting, even those who have found family. Just this idea that there is something so painful about not having anyone who's related to you or the people who raised you. Similarly, we hold space for people who don't have any friends. People talk about how traumatic and genuinely heartbreaking it was to not have friends in primary school. It's something that still tinges when they're an adult. And then when people discuss how lonely they are because they don't have romantic love, then it's suddenly oh, you're so desperate. Oh, you need to get over that. You just need to get a hobby. Frankly, you should stop trying to pursue it.
Okay, so we got two different takes on that, right? We got one for and one against, right? And I want to, so let me put my little 2 cents in. I think that, like I said from the beginning, that it could be different for other people. And I think that it depends on how you are looking at it and what you need for yourself. So, for instance, there are some people who have chosen to decenter men and not date at all. They have given up on men. And I feel like with this whole 4B movement thing, which people are debating whether it's a real thing or not a real thing that started in Korea. I don't know. But regardless, there are some women who have decided to give up men completely, where they're just I'm not going to marry men. I'm not going to date them. I'm not going to birth children from them. What was the other thing? Oh, I'm not going to have sex with them. Okay. So they're I'm getting away from them altogether. I don't want nothing to do with them. Right. And I think that sometimes that is getting confused with decentering. Right. I don't think decentering means that you necessarily have to be done with men completely. But it means rather than a man being use my wine again. Rather than a man being the center of your life and everything you do revolves around this person and is meant to fit what this person needs from you, you are the center and he is one of the things amongst, your hobbies and your desires and your goals and your dreams and your career and your children. Like all those things revolve around you, and you are the priority that makes all those things excel, right? By prioritizing yourself, you create more time and space for the things that you love. By prioritizing yourself, you are a better parent. By prioritizing yourself, you are a better partner, right? I think like by not making what you do and how you live your life centered around a person, which can ultimately cause you to lose yourself. And trust me, girl, I have been there, okay? And a lot of us have, where you've tried to be what this person wanted you to be. And in doing so, you've lost a sense of self, and you don't make time for friends, and you don't make time for the things that you want to do or the things that you enjoy. And your career takes the back burner. I've done all these things. Okay. So even when becoming a mother can do that to you too. And people will guilt you for not prioritizing your kids, right? They will guilt you for not making your kids your number one thing and putting your kids before yourself. But and that has been normal rhetoric, right? That has been normalized rhetoric to say when you have children, you have to put them before yourself. And I'm here to tell you, we really need to denormalize that. As a mother, I can tell you for a fact, nobody wins if I'm tired and exhausted and burning myself out for them in order to give them everything that they need, and I am depleted, okay? By filling my own cup, I've been able to be a better, more attentive, more calm, more engaged parent. And so I am all for decentering, not just men, decentering everything. There's some people who put the career as there's men who do that, right? And that's normal. It's normal for a man to make his career everything, and then his family and his wife and kids revolve around that. Well, I have to provide for this family, so this is the more important thing. And all of that is dangerous stuff. It's dangerous to put that on a person and to tell them that that is the most important thing and that is the biggest priority. So over the past few years, I myself have decentered men, not necessarily on purpose, but at the end of my last relationship, I decided to focus more on myself, and I didn't date. I didn't date for almost 2 years. I just wanted to stabilize my life, reconnect with self, help my children adjust to a new normal, right? And do all the things. That was one of my goals. In 2022, this is probably like 6 months after my breakup, I decided that I was going to try all the things that I had been putting to the side and waiting till I had time while I prioritized everyone else but myself. I was waiting till I had enough time to get to the things that I wanted to do. And so I kept putting them to the side and putting them to the side. And so I just had these pile up of ideas that I never really got to, and feeling like, what am I doing? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? And I just gave myself a year to try all the things. If you've listened to my It's Not Too Late video, I think that's what it's called. It's Not Too Late to Start Over, the Starting Over video, or podcast. I don't know if I made a video of it, but it is a podcast. You can get more of that story where I really just focused on those things. And by doing that, I was able to create multiple streams of income. I was able to join a tech boot camp, which pushed me into the tech industry, as well as since then use my skills, my government skills that I've had from years of working in the government prior to being a stay-at-home mom for a minute, as well as going into tech. And my life looks very different from what it looked like when I was in that relationship and didn't even recognize myself anymore. So in the past year, I have been dating, right? But dating has been very different from what it has been like before. In dating before, I was always trying to fit into someone's life. I was always trying to fit in, fit in whatever space they were willing to provide me, and some of them weren't even willing to make room, but I was willing to get in where I fit in, right? And no one told me that was weird. No one told me that wasn't normal, and and honestly, it's what I had learned from. I thought that's what it was, how it was supposed to be, And in every relationship, I felt like I lost myself a bit. So I can't even fully blame the relationships I was in, because yeah, they had their stuff, but I had my stuff too, right? And I was attracted to certain things in a person that made me feel like I could be useful to them, right? And I was always trying to find a way to be useful so that you could find value in me. And I didn't realize that was never going to work. It took me a long time to realize that. And so now, when I started dating again, I was more focused on just being myself and making sure that I was not selling myself short. I recognize that everybody's not going to see my value, and that's fine. Not everybody's going to see what you see in yourself, and that's fine. Doesn't make them a bad person. Doesn't make them, they may not be the right person for you, but that doesn't always mean that they're a bad choice for someone else. And I've learned that and recognized when it's time to just like move on. There are going to be many men who are attracted to you, but that doesn't mean every man likes you. I've learned that. You know what I'm saying? That not everybody genuinely likes you. And most men are not going to say that they don't really like you. They will just play with you because you let them. And I'm not here to blame women for anything. I'm saying that we need to like really look at where we've been programmed and taught to move a certain way when it comes to men, and how we've been programmed to center men in our lives. And by decentering them, we put ourselves in our rightful place and actually start to create the life that we are meant to have. And I've noticed that in doing that, the men that I've attracted has changed. When I'm not focused on attracting them, when I dress the way I want to, when I wear my hair the way I want to, when I go to the places and enjoy the life that I want to. I do a lot of solo outings, right? I hang out with friends and family. It's something that I absolutely do more since being single. But every time I've been single in my life, one of my favorite things to do has been going on solo dates. I've always been like that. I know solo dates has become like this big, this talking point now, but in my 20s, right, I was going out by myself. I would go to the movies by myself. I would try a new restaurant by myself, because I actually enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed just spending time by myself. And I'd go to a new restaurant that I wanted to try. I'd go and I'd sit at the bar and I'd have a drink and I'd order some food. And 9 times out of 10, people at the bar tend to be there by themselves too, and they will engage, men and women. And I've made friends that way. I've made some cool connections that way. Every time I've gotten into a relationship, I've stopped doing that. It's just one of those things that I know that is something that's important for me to do, to have that me time, right? And not every man is going to understand that. Yeah, not every man is going to understand that. And so I need someone who does. And I think that it's just really important to really know yourself. And it's hard to know yourself when men are the center of your life, when you make men the priority. Maybe when you're single, you have a period of really getting to know yourself. But as soon as you get into a relationship, if you've made men the center, whatever he wants is eventually it's going to be what you do. And it's not to say that when you're in a relationship, you don't have to make concessions or you don't have to compromise in certain ways. Sure. But should those compromises be you being less of you? Right? And in order for you to catch it, in order for you to know when he's asking you to be less of you, you have to know you. And how do you know you if you never spend any time with you? If you never make yourself the priority? I'm just saying. It's hard to really make yourself a priority. For some of us, if you're choosing to decenter men, which I think all of us should, if you really are serious about your life, not to stick it to men, but really to know you better, just to know you better. And in order to decenter men, for some of you, it may mean not dating at all, at least for a while. It might mean that. It might mean not dating at all, not if you have a history of just being distracted by men, then maybe you should just not date men for a little bit and just focus on you. And which is what I had to do. I knew, one, I needed to heal from my previous relationship. Any relationship that I was going to get into, I did not want to take all that with me. And I knew that if I had started dating right away, I would have just carried it along. And no one needs that. I didn't want to burden anyone else with that stuff. That was my work to do. I needed to heal. After that, it was more just about me getting to know me and spending time with me and getting reacquainted with myself and what I like to do and how I wanted to spend my time. And then I was ready to date again. And I was dating with a different mindset and a clearer understanding of who I was, who I am, and what I need and what I bring. And I think that because I came to it in that way, I don't really have like these dating horror stories because I recognize that I have choice. I have choices. I can make decisions. I can decide to deal with someone. I can decide not to deal with someone. I can decide whether I want to give second chances and whether I don't. And everyone has the same choices. Everyone has the same choices. And if I am to be comfortable with exercising my options and my choices, I have to be comfortable with other people exercising their options and choices as well. So if a man is not interested, and if I'm comfortable with me, and if I am confident in me, and if I've spent the time getting to know me and I'm happy with the person that I am, it won't matter to me that they're not interested in me. That's okay. Go find someone that you're interested in. And there's no hard feelings. I don't feel like he's losing out. He wasn't meant for me. And I'm okay with that. I don't take it to heart. I don't take it personally. I don't get beat up by rejection or someone not being interested or it not working out or dating someone for a couple months and seeing like, you know what? I don't think we're really compatible. He's not a bad guy. I just don't think we have the same vision for our futures. I don't think we're in the same season of life. You know, he still wants to do certain things that I'm kind of over, or I still want to do some things that he's kind of on a different thing. And we're just not a good fit right now. We're just not a good fit. And that's okay. I think healing and prioritizing yourself and knowing yourself is key to getting to a place where you don't get offended by everything and you don't feel rejected by everything. And you can find your places and your spaces that are for you and are right for you. Right? You can find your community, you can find your people, and you can make new friends. I feel like over the past year, I've made amazing friends. Like I've made new friends. I've re-engaged with friendships that I've had for a long time, just being more present in them and, you know, kind of nurturing them more because I even realized that in getting to know me, that I could be a better friend, right? I could do better things. I could communicate better. And those are things that I've been working on to become a better person. And in being those things, I will be a better partner for someone if that should be what I receive, if I should end up with a partner. Because also decentering men, this decenters the need for a relation to feel complete, that you need that for completeness. And I may never have a husband. I may never. You know, that's fine. Doesn't mean that I'll never have companionship. Doesn't mean that I'll never have real deep, intimate relationships. It doesn't mean that. And I don't know exactly how they'll show up, but I know that if I keep being present and I keep being me and I keep showing up as the best version of me and I keep learning who that best version is and becoming, that will only attract the relationships that I need. And intimacy doesn't always come from romantic partnership. And I am a believer in the and. I stand for the and, okay? You can have deep, intimate relationship. You can have deep partnership. You can have deep friendships. And I'm just in a stage of life where deep connections are my preference. So if it's a friendship that's surface, get out of here. Please. Please leave me alone. If we're dating and we're not talking about anything beyond, surface shit, please go away. Because we may not become partners in life, but maybe we can become contacts, associates, friends, but not if it's just surface shit. Because I'm just not interested in surfaceness from in any part of my life. I really don't. I don't want it from family. I don't want it from friends. I don't want it from people I'm dating. I don't want it in a partner. I don't want it, with my children. Even my children, I'm fostering deep relationship with, and we're having and encouraging deeper conversations, because that's the kind of family that I want to have, and that's the kind of qualities and characteristics I want my children to have. I want them to connection. I want them to value deep connection, and I want them to know how to communicate and connect. And I'm raising boys, so it's very important to me, because men just haven't been taught that, and it's important for me to give them that space, to provide that space for them, and to become a person who, in prioritizing self, can fill her cup enough to create space for others. Safe space for people to be and do and create and have what they desire for themselves. So I had so many notes for this episode, and I feel like I touched on most of them, but I kind of just kept talking on. I feel like I was going in a good place. Hopefully you guys get what I'm saying, and this all makes sense to you. I feel like I kind of rambled a bit, but I feel like I said what I needed to say on this topic, and while I'm not decentering men, I'm not out here in protest about decentering men, I do think that it is an important era of a woman's life when she learns to put herself first and all that comes with that. And I'm not just talking about money and things like that. And that's why I think when I did that episode about the money episode, I keep calling it the money episode. When I did the money episode, I think the reason why I was so nervous about that episode is because I'm not a person who feels like money is the important thing. I do think money is important, and I am going to get my bag, okay? Don't play with it, okay? I'm always going to be going after, improving my life, and you need money to improve your life, period. But at the same time, I am more a advocate for the space that money provides. The space to not have to worry about how you're going to pay for things, to not have the stress of worrying about money, and also the clarity of mind to kind of just focus on other things, to focus on building yourself and deciding on what you want in your life and what you don't want in your life, and being able to make those choices. When you're in survival mode, it's hard to do those things. It's hard to. There is a phase where in order to get out of survival mode, you have to, right? You have to do some work. And a lot of it is going to be a little bit of delulu thinking, right? You're going to have to have a strong mindset, right? Until you start to see things happening. And that can be challenging when you're still worried about surviving. But I think that when we're talking about decentering and putting yourself first, it's not just so you can make more money. It's not just to stick it to the men. It's really about you becoming a more whole, full you, so that you can create more. And maybe that's more money. And maybe that's more time. And maybe that's more freedom. And maybe that's more connections. But you don't get more without making yourself full. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And I hope to see you guys on the next one. Oh, wait, before we go, I want to let you guys know that I am releasing the 7-day reset challenge. It is a challenge on how to make positive shifts in your life to gain clarity and focus on a journey to the life you want. Everything that, I've like been in this really, really, really great phase of like creating things. And I've taken the lessons and all the steps that I've taken over the past few years and kind of documented it and went into my journal and grabbed and looked at all the things that I, wrote about and just been creating products that is the most useful to my audience. Some of the products that I'm the most proud of as I've been focusing more on, building career stuff. I've still been running my businesses. I've still been running my income streams and being able to like sit back and really create good shit without like feeling like this pressure to sell things or this pressure to make money from it. Just really wanting to put out stuff that really matters to me, products and content that really matters to me. And I think that would really be helpful to you guys. So the 7-day reset is really a 7-day challenge that goes through the steps that I took to really start to change my life. And by going through it, it'll take you through, each day will give you, you get 3 prompts each day. Those prompts have been so life-changing for me. And I feel like having those questions answered in one place as a place that you can go back and refer to will be so instrumental in really like making that mindset shift that you need in the beginning, especially if you're in that survival mode space of life. It'll help you make the shifts to kind of get out of that space, or at least create a plan for how you're gonna shift out of it. And it's one of those things that I'm really proud of, and I've created it in such a way that I can always keep improving it and making it better. And I feel like it's one of those things that's going to stick around for a long time because it was so helpful, and I hope that it's helpful to you. And if you're interested in it, you can find it in the description below or in the show notes, depending on where you're watching this. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. And I hope to see you guys in the next episode. Bye.